Good morning, neighbors. Welcome back to another video, Cooking with Neighbors. It is I, Jerri-ellen, and today we are making butter tarts, a request from a beautiful neighbor here named Candy and her cousin. This message is for you all. Sometimes you forget you are awesome. This is your reminder. And I drew a picture of Henrietta and a friendly neighbor. So let's get into the video. So I have 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm going to put a teaspoon of sugar. Because it's for a dessert, that's why I added sugar to the pie crust. Half a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to give it a little blitz. And I cubed up a stick of butter, 8 tablespoons or a half a cup. I cubed it and I froze it because I want it to be nice and cold. And as it's blitzing, it could warm up the butter. I'll put it in. It's got tiny little pieces in there. If I was doing a whole pie crust, I wouldn't worry about making them all really small. Having different bits and sizes in it on a pie crust is nice, on a buttered pie crust. Oh yeah, and butter tarts, traditionally made with a buttered pie crust, okay? But because I'm gonna be putting them out in individual muffin tin, things, I want it to be as evenly distribute butter as possible. So that's why using this, make all the little pieces in there. 1/4 cup of ice water. Oh, I'm gonna put a few teaspoons of vinegar. It makes it a bit more flaky, the pie crust. And then I'm gonna add some of my water. I have an ice cube in it to make it. It'll start to look like wet sand. I think that's going to be good. And it stays together when you squeeze it. I'm going to put this in some cling wrap in the shape of a rectangle because I'm going to roll it out into a rectangle. And if I was doing it for a pie, I would make a disc shape. So when I roll it, it's already has that disc shape and makes it easier to roll a circle. But I wanted to make it easier to roll a rectangle, so I'm putting a rectangle shape. And I'm going to put this in the refrigerator for at least a half hour. But I'm actually making the butter tarts this evening or tonight. So I'm just going to put it into the fridge until I'm ready to use it. Well, neighbors, Henrietta and I are out for a morning stroll. Come on, Henrietta, honey. Just enjoying a beautiful day. And I hope that you all are too. And yeah, just wanted to take you along for a little bit of the walkie poo. Henrietta, don't eat the flowers, honey. So actually, it is the next day. I decided to make it the next day. I thought maybe it'd be a little cooler out, but it's still quite hot. But These are going to be great, and I can't wait to get started at them. I'm just going to put a little bit of flour on my pastry here, just to make it easier to roll. So traditionally, they're made in these muffin tins. You need a large cookie cutter for it to fit the way traditionally it's made. I'll explain that later. But I'm going to put some in the muffin tins, and I'm going to put some in these little tart shell thingies. Yeah. Now, I have a cookie cutter, and you want it to be bigger, or, you want it to fit over your muffin thing there so that your shells will fit. Ideally, a larger cookie cutter is best because you would want them to come up above the circle, so a few centimeters larger or an inch or so larger than the circumference of the circle of the muffin tin will give you the traditional looking butter tart, old school rustic butter tart, and it will be a little bit higher so that you can crimp around the circumference of it. Just like if you were doing a pie, you want it to be that thin as a pie crust. Doesn't have to be perfect. These are rustic. Traditionally, they're rustic. They're not all perfect in tart shells. And it is very uniquely Canadian, I would say. However, it is a bit like the Quebec sugar pie, and it's a bit like the Louisiana pecan pie. But there's a great influence of Canadian French in Louisiana. In the filling, you can have raisins in your filling. I'm going to have in the description box how to do that. And you can have or pecans or walnuts in the filling. I'm just going to have just the filling today because sharing it with some folks that like the plain. I'm going to try to get. These are delicious no matter what size they are. You can buy pre-made tart shells, but I really want to show you how to do the butter crust because that is traditional. And if you had a larger cookie cutter, you would get a dozen out of this recipe for your muffin tin that come up high enough for it to look the traditional way. Or you can have like... I'll figure out the size of this and put it across the screen because these are this size is what I use for doing the tart shells, and it fits perfectly in the tart shell. But I'm going to put them in the muffin tin to show you that if you don't have tart shells, you can still get the tart sizes in the muffin tin. Now, that's the largest that I had. So normally you would like for them to come up a little over, but you do the best that you can, right? You don't want to fill these. I'm just going to do this, then I'll talk. 1 second. If you have a cookie cutter that goes like 2.5 to 4 centimeters larger, like an inch or so larger than your circle, then they will come up over, and that would be great, and then you can have that wrinkled top kind of look to them. So I'm doing some in there. So for the filling, 1/4 cup of softened butter, and some recipes melt the butter. Anyway, and 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar. I only had a little bit left in that bag, so just putting it in there. And I'm going to smoosh that together because I want to start creaming this butter and sugar together. And an optional part of this filling, you can add a teaspoon or 2 of lemon juice. This is 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a 1/4 cup of golden syrup, okay? I used to buy this golden syrup a lot growing up. Yeah. So you just want to cream this together really well. And you want to dissolve, basically you want that creamed enough that it's like the brown sugar has dissolved somewhat in with it. Now I'm going to add an egg. You can lightly beat the egg before putting it in or not. I find that it never really made a difference. So you want to cream this together now really well, and you want to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract, which I'm going to go and grab. My mom used to make them with walnuts. Look how delicious. Does not look good. I love this stuff. So you just want to add a teaspoon or 2 of this. I'm just putting a capful in. These delicious little things. Life is good.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, don't want to fill them up because they're going to get puffy. So you just want to fill these up 3/4 of the way. You want to leave some space because these are going to puff up, and you don't want them to bubble over your tart shells because the sugar will get down between the pan and your shell, and it could be quite messy. So you don't want that. And when you're using those little tart shells, the individual ones, make sure you put them on a tray so they don't bubble over into your oven and make a complete mess. So yeah, these will puff up, and as they cool, when they come out, they will sink down a little bit. And they are very addictive, and this butter crust is so flaky. You want to cook these so that they get the nice golden on the bottom, and you can tell that the filling is all nice and bubbly and hot and browned. It's so delicious. Get her going. Get her going. Shake, shake, shake. Make these a lot growing up at Christmas time.
Yeah, this Christmas will be really cool. That'll be really nice.
Your dad and I were already discussing it.
Yeah.
We were like, how are we going to do the tree with cats?
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Good luck.
I said maybe we'll have the basement done enough that we can put one down there.
Yeah. We still need to make it really Christmassy in here, though. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we can hang stuff up on the wall. Damos will be the only one that climbs the walls to get that. I'm going to freeze those other things, maybe, instead of making a batch for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Jerry, you'll have a mess if it bubbles over. So take a wee little bit more of that one. There we go. So my oven is preheated to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm going to put these on the second shelf from the bottom. Wanted to show you the golden syrup that I used. So these are all done. They don't take long at all. They only take 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how large you made or how thick you made your tarts. And I cannot wait to get into these. They're so good. They're not hard to take out. These tarts are not hard to take out of the muffin tins, and they're not hard to take out of these little tart tins. I am going to do a nice, quick, tasty poo. They're going to be a little warm, but they're best to cool down and let them set up a bit. And I know you want to have a tasty poo. Oh my goodness, I'm going to make these like more often. You just forget how good they are until you bite into them. And they're so delicious. This is truly a Canadian treat. It's truly delicious. And this flaky pie crust, like the pastry crust, is so good, especially when everything's cooled down. I should have did Tasty Poo when it cooled down so I could show you how flaky this crust is. But anyway, 2 thumbs up. Leave me a like, share and subscribe. Love you all.